So joining me in this shared field of stillness together. Where everything is left alone that is not present now. And we come to this central point together of natural silence. Natural stillness. A natural resting ground. But you cannot think yourself there. To come to this place, you must leave the mind alone. To come to this place, you must leave everything alone that is not at your very core. So then you begin to taste the fragrance of the spirit inside you. You begin to taste that untouched presence within you. Beyond gender, beyond nationality, beyond conditioning. It is not a place of knowledge, but a place of emptiness. The only knowledge that is needed to rest in your true nature is self-knowledge. You can forget about everything else. Be one with this untouched presence inside you. Be still inside the I amness. Rest in God. Just for the last few moments of the meditation, rest in being. Rest inside that place within you, which is deeper than the mind. That place which allows everything else to be as it is, but it itself is not touched by that. This is the light of presence within us, the light of God within us. And this is universal to all living beings. Everybody has this, but mostly it is covered by the personality. Here I'm encouraging you to bring that part of yourself forward. The light of conscious presence. And it reveals itself when we don't identify with the surface movement. It reveals as a sacred stillness, a sacred and natural peace and harmony, a sense of fulfillment, and a sense of natural peace and happiness. We may call it the Universal Mother. And the moment you begin to taste that within yourself, then that is the birth of being consciousness. The birth of something within you which is not of the person. It is the birth of the Christ consciousness. And in much of the Bible, Jesus refers to this as the I am, as the pure I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. Referring to the I am, the presence within all of us. In another famous verse in the Bible, we're encouraged, be still and know I am. Be still and know the I amness. Be still and know the Spirit of God within you. Not as theory, not as belief, but as your felt and known experience. This godly presence within us It can hold our humanness. It can take care of the wounded parts of ourself. It can take care of the inner child. It can take care of strong emotions and feelings. And it can take care of the mind. It is greater than all of these other things. And since the beginning of time, beings have realized this. Beings have awoken or awakened to this principle within them. And they have testified that it is possible to awaken to this and live as this. They have surrendered themselves fully to this godly principle within them. And then they no longer feel that they are the masters of their life, but that they have given their lives to the higher power. They have given their lives to the universal spirit. And within each religion, within every religion, this aspect of consciousness is revered and given space. In Buddhism, it is Zen. The mystical branch of Buddhism is Zen. The mystical branch of Christianity is Gnosticism. The mystical branch of Islam is Sufism. The mystical branch of Hinduism is Advaita Vedanta. All of these approaches, they honor the religion. They honor the rituals and things. But there is a deeper encouragement to go beyond belief, to go beyond to go beyond all speculation and realize yourself. Realize yourself. Awaken to the indwelling spirit within you. Awaken to it and fully honor it. And it is my love and my joy to share this with you. To share this very good news with you. That you are not just subject to your conditioning. You are not just subject to your trauma and your habits and your mind. But the Spirit of God lives within you. And wants to be born through you, as you. And there is no greater calling than this. The calling to come to God is the greatest calling. So please come out of the meditation whenever you feel to. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. And welcome to this meeting this morning. This meeting gathering in the spirit. And what really touches me in these meetings is very much your contribution, your sharings, your reports. And then this field that we create together becomes one of collective sharing, a collective meeting. And the power is very much in the group field. So rather than me answering questions, it's more intimate than that. It's closer than that. It's more vulnerable than that. It's a willingness to truly be here. And it's a willingness to come away from sort of mental ideas and fully come into your human experience. Fully open to and embrace your humanness within the light of the deeper consciousness. Then rather than reading lots of books and studying, you're actually looking into yourself. You're exploring yourself. And you're finding that at the very core of yourself, at the very heart of yourself, there is something here which is mostly overlooked. And you're being invited again and again to rest as that, to honor that, to be still inside that, until that and you become the same. So you're not visiting that, but that becomes you. Yes. So I'm gonna open this up now, and we already have Kerry has his hand up. So I'm gonna invite you forward, Kerry. Are you there, Kerry?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see all your faces again. And it's been a long time since we've spoken.
Good to see you, Kerry.
You too. Thank you. I felt like I wanted to share because I realize I'm kind of picking up on what Leonie was talking about yesterday again, about how we can completely sort of, there's like a shutdown, a disconnect, and I realize that I've spent almost all my life in that place, and I think it's only the last sort of 15 years maybe that I even realized there was anything other than that place. And that's the only way I came to recognize that. And but I feel that there's a part that I'm so in tune with it now that I know that I kind of I'm still in that place a lot of the time, and it just feels a kind of a dead place, and it's very painful, and I feel that as far back as I can remember, like right to early childhood, I've felt this just deep pain and sadness, and I know that isn't from now. I know that isn't the self. It's not the self that's in all the pain and the anguish, and it's me, the self, well, the ego, the personality. But at times it's so unbelievably strong, almost like when you just split a relationship, or the person you're with suddenly says, "I don't love you anymore." And it feels like that kind of pain has always been there from the earliest time I can remember. And my mum even said that she remembered me as a child saying a lot that I didn't really mind if I died. I didn't care, really. And I sort of thought that was a strange thing for a child to say. And I'm just aware now that it's still there so much of the time. And I try to just sit with it and not get lost in it. I'm trying to bring all my awareness in to not just be like wallowing in this sort of pain for the sake of pain, and I try to be in the sort of try to be in the present, in the self that can just see it all and be with it. But sometimes it's so overwhelmingly powerful that it just draws me in and connects again with the pain, and so I don't really, I mean, I'm not expecting any answer. I'm just wanted to share it, really, I suppose, and say that I just also, if I in these meetings, I feel like I need to share sometimes, because if I don't, I feel like I can sit back and just hide in that protection still, even in that, like a sort of, I don't have to go there and kind of, and I want to break through it.
Yes. Yes. First of all, Kerry, thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your vulnerability and your sensitivity. And that is very much welcomed in these meetings, and you're very much encouraged to share this. So I would always want to encourage you to share. And whenever you feel to share, please come forward and share, because your sharing also, it will touch so many people in the group. And so many people who come to these meetings, they can report something very similar to this. Many people who come to the meetings, they carry a lot of pain from childhood, or a lot of trauma, or a lot of sensitivity, and often a very deeply wounded inner child. And also myself, have been very much on that journey myself. So I very much understand that and can relate to that. Yes. Yeah. Maybe we can just speak a little bit, and if you feel to, yeah.
Yeah.
When the inner child arises inside you, and there is a strong feelings of pain that come with that, and you say, I try to be the witness of it, and I try to remove myself from it so I don't get caught inside it. Yeah. Yes. Is it possible that when these feelings arise strongly inside you, that just for a moment, you don't try to do anything, but you find a yes to these feelings, first of all. Why? Because they're arising. So rather than trying to kind of do anything, first of all, let there be some deep acceptance that these feelings are arising inside you. The second thing is to see if it's possible that when these feelings arise, that the habitual movement to identify with them and join with them also doesn't happen. So the feelings are there, the feelings are arising, and the habit to either try to do something or identify with them, both of those are just for a moment, just kind of avoided for a moment, and you just allow the feelings to arise.
And do you mean when, because I feel like I've cried like an ocean endlessly, and but it feels like never ending. And do you mean even not even going into the crying? Or...
Now, if the crying is taking place, then allow the crying. But what I'm encouraging you to do is going to be two things. One is to not identify. Now, to not identify doesn't mean to ignore. It doesn't mean to dissociate. It doesn't mean to pretend it's not happening. To not identify means to fully allow. To fully allow. At the same time as fully allowing, can you also begin to remind that beautiful child within you, that innocent child within you, can you begin to remind him that you, as the godly presence, that you are with him, that you are with him, and that you will not abandon him. Yeah. And that all of these feelings that come up inside him, that there is nothing wrong with him, that he is a beautiful child of God. But these feelings, can they be held within the higher power? And if you can't find the higher power, then something in you must just surrender to that. And in that surrender, in that realization that at this moment we cannot find it, then something else will reveal itself. As you're sitting here right now, what is present for you right now?
I feel like I'm kind of on the cusp of completely shutting down and completely cracking open. It feels a bit like I can feel that and I've seen it in the past. I've really experienced it very strongly, that I could be like this, like in tears, and then suddenly just boom, it's gone, and it completely, emotion is all gone.
Yes.
And I just feel like I'm somewhere teetering on the brink of that at the moment.
Yeah. Mm.
And when that happens, it feels quite painful because I mean, I can feel it even now. See, as I'm starting to talk, I can feel the shutting down coming.
Yes.
It's like as if as you go, and the protection is so strong. It's like so strong that it just is there so much of the time, and then I can't feel my heart anymore.
Yeah. Yes.
And that brings so much pain because I know now what it's like to feel like dead inside, just
Yeah.
like a robot, you know.
Mm, mm, mm. Yes. The very fact that you are so sincere, and the very fact that you have so much longing for truth inside you, that this must stand for something. This must mean something. And it cannot be that all of this pain and struggle just doesn't lead anywhere. It must be that this pain and sorrow, not that we would have chosen it, and not that we would have wanted to have had the upbringing that we had, but that this pain and sorrow must be turned into gold, as the alchemist turning base metal into gold. How do we turn base metal into gold? By fully allowing this to arise, but by holding the ground of being within ourselves. You know, I shared recently in a meeting that sometimes in myself, if very strong trauma arises, there is nothing I can do. There is absolutely nothing I can do but just see if I can find a yes to it. Sometimes the body is just responding in a certain way, and there is nothing I can do but just find a yes and find an acceptance of that, and see if that also can be brought into the light of consciousness. So everything is almost like everything is being revealed. Everything is being brought into this light of consciousness. Now, if we don't have access to the higher power, to the spirit, then this will feel, you know, like hell. But if we have access to the spirit, if we are conscious of that deeper part of ourself, or the witnessing presence within ourself, then somehow we will use it. Somehow we will use it. But first, what that child needs from you is he needs so much reassurance. He needs so much reassurance that he's safe, that you're not going to abandon him, and that you are holding him with love. Yes. And sometimes these very strong movements of emotion are going to come, and they may be here a while, but they're also going to settle down as well. Sometimes they're coming very strong, and sometimes they're settling down. You can also begin to reflect what inside you sees these feelings coming and going, sees these strong feelings arising and passing. In whose presence are these things coming and going? So you also begin to self-reflect into the deeper inquiry of who am I? There is something here, choicelessly aware, choicelessly witnessing. Now, we may not be able to access that at times of great pain, but at times where there is relatively not so much emotional turbulence going on, you may find this very deep resting ground within yourself. And as you find this deep resting ground within yourself, it is going to give you so much confidence and so much reassurance and so much hope that there is something inside you which is at peace and which is stable. And it is my job, if you like, to always remind people of that. That however desperate things may feel, and however difficult things may feel, there is always this higher truth within us. And I'm not dismissing these things that you're sharing as just ego and these things, not at all. I wouldn't refer it to that like that. I would say that that is a beautiful, wounded inner child that needs your love. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Very beautiful to hear you share this way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Craig. Many people will relate to what Kerry is sharing. Many people in this room. And the way I see it, if our spirituality doesn't include the inner child work, then somehow spirituality can even become an avoidance of our humanness. So I'm very much encouraging that our humanness is brought into the field of presence. So we're not avoiding it and we're not discarding it. We're not saying, oh, that's just my ego. It only becomes ego when we fully identify with it and become it. If we don't identify with it, it is our humanness. And we are all deeply human on one level. We are not trying to get rid of our humanness. What we are doing is seeing if a shift in consciousness can take place. That is what is happening here. Okay. Okay, Per Ram, I'm going to invite you to come forward.
Yes, thank you.
Hey.
And lovely to be here and to take part of this retreat. I have a question and an experience I have now and had yesterday as well. And that is, this morning we made a breathing meditation that was very heart-opening and putting me in contact with myself and with the presence. But when I step into our meditation here, it's like I lose the contact and I there's like a tiredness coming over me, and I fade away now and then, and in between it's like I'm trying to re-establish the contact I had just 1 hour ago, and I just can't find it. So it's like a struggling with struggling getting in contact. And it feels like, and yesterday it was really like I was getting this fading away, or getting these like pictures and thoughts that I just can't keep away, and I can't reach the presence, and this is painful in a way. Not like Carrie described it. It's more like being just not in contact. It's like I'm numbing myself in a way.
Yes, yes.
And I would be very happy to have some hear your words about it, or get some guidance.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. As you're sitting here right now, as we're just sitting here together right now, what is your experience right now?
Yeah, no, the moment I got silent, and you started to talk, I could feel the warmth, like a warmth coming back in my heart, and I feel like, yes, now something is established again. So I feel like a smile is is just not behind any longer. Now it's really present. Yeah, it's really coming back directly.
That
so
was,
it's like
that was easy, wasn't
it? Yeah. But yeah, it is easy, and I really feel warm all over my body now.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's like I need something outside myself to establish that. Like in this breathing meditation, I need the guidance, and I need the input to maybe to dare and to step into this presence.
Yeah. That is because at the moment, the idea that we've got about ourselves is very much personal. It's a very personal, separate identity. When you're speaking about yourself, you're speaking about a personal identity. And that personal identity is what is being transformed. The transformation from the personal identity into presence is what the spiritual path is about. It is about transforming this personal I into the beingness I. And you have mentioned, certain exercises, breathing exercises. Many people, they're doing so many different things, going into nature, dancing, singing, all these kinds of things to try to come into the heart and be stabilized inside the heart. And you have now come into this place relatively easily. But here now also, I want to share something else with you also. I want to share two things with you. Because first of all, you must find what is the kind of portal, what is the portal, or what is the gateway for you to come into your deeper being. Now, for some people, for example, when they disidentify from their mind, then immediately they begin to sense the deeper presence within them. For somebody else, maybe the moment they accept what is, they completely accept what is, then that takes them beyond mind, and they begin again to sense the deeper being. For another, they may just be able to just listen to the silence within them, just listening to silence. And this also will open up the portal of presence within them. So you can find what is your key for that. Another really beautiful method is just to be conscious of this pure intuition, I am, just this feeling, I am, inside the heart, before that joins up with, I am a man, I am Swedish, I am a professional, whatever, all these things. Just this feeling, I am. And you can just spend some time every day just resting in this feeling, I am. At first, it may feel that this feeling is not strong, and the mind is strong, and the I am is very weak. But as you stay with that, and as you give that some time and some focus and some energy, then this I amness, this presence, it will grow inside you, and it will become stronger inside you. At a certain point, when you speak about yourself, you will see that the personality, the conditioned personality, is just like the clothes that you're wearing. But really, it is not the truth of yourself. At the moment, it feels the truth of what we are. But the journey is to come inwards and discover this deeper essence of ourself. So these are some ways that you can do this. And obviously, spending time in nature, all these things, very beautiful. Also noticing space, just spending time just noticing space rather than content. All of these things will bring you into the being. But now I want to take a chance on you also. I want to take a chance. And I want to I'm reminded of what Sri Ramana Maharshi said. He said, if you're looking for truth, you must let whatever comes come and let whatever goes go, but you must find out what remains. Let what comes come, let what goes go, find out what remains. Meaning, find out what is always here. And at first, this may seem like an abstract question. It may even seem a kind of a foolish question. But as we become more refined in our consciousness, and as we become more self-reflective, we are going to come to see that there is something here by itself. And it never goes. In front of it, all of these other things come and go. They pass through. They live for a while and then they go. Even the most beautiful experiences, they are coming and going. What is it inside us that sees this coming and going? If I ask you that, Per, where would that lead you?
I think it's, I had to close the video because the connection is unstable here, but I think it will lead me to the I am.
Yes. It will lead you, it will lead you first to the I am. And the I am is the place that we must come to first. But at a certain point, it's going to lead you beyond the I am. I don't want to teach this, but I must just say it. It is going to lead you from the personal I to the I am, and then from the I am to the self. Because something inside us, it even sees the I amness. that which sees and knows the I amness, when this recognition comes to us, then you have gone beyond experience. You have gone beyond experience. You will still enjoy experience. You will still enjoy the heart opening or the heart closing, but you will come to see that there is something else here which is beyond opening and closing. It is beyond these dualities. And the recognition of that is the recognition of the true self. And I just have to bring this into the conversation because this is so integral to what we're speaking about. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You know, it was so nice to see your whole expression change and your whole demeanor change. It was very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look very beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. And I see I'm mirroring myself in you because your smile was, how do you say, unpayable. Very beautiful.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. And you.
Thank you.
Many years ago, when I first went to India, this is a long time ago now, I had already realized presence within myself, and that was already very clear for me. And I chanced upon meeting Muji in India, and he was speaking about something that was beyond presence. And at first, I really didn't understand what he was speaking about. I couldn't understand it. I felt, you know, I just felt if I could get stabilized in presence, then this would be it. But actually, over time and over a period of time, this became clear for me what he's speaking about. So I encourage you that if I'm speaking in a way that at the moment you cannot understand, don't sort of say, oh, you know, I don't understand what he's speaking about and reject it. But just see if something inside you can stay open to what is being shared. Because what I'm sharing is not something that will be understood by your mind. It is almost like something will just come into you and it is doing the work by itself. But of course, the mind will reject it. The mind will say no to it, because the mind knows that if you awaken to that, then it is the end of the mind as your master, you see? So the mind will just reject it and have a lot of resistance to that. But I'm encouraging you to not purchase that and believe that, because there is a deeper truth here that I am pointing you towards. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little moment, and then we're gonna come to Venetia. She has her hand up, and that will maybe the last one today. We will see. Okay, Venetia, welcome into the room.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, very moved by Kerry's share, and I'm really touched by what just came up, what you were saying to Per just now. With the quote.
Not a very good line, Venetia. I don't hear her. Does everybody else hear her? No. We don't hear you very well, Venetia.
Let me see if I can move about. Does that make any difference?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll see if I can sit down here. I'll just say again that I was deeply moved by what Kerry said, and but the reason I wanted to meet, well, a bit of me really doesn't want to meet you, but is what you just said about the quote, that beautiful quote. It blows me apart. I mean, it brings up so many tears, and I suppose some sort of surrender with it. And that what you talked about yesterday, the choiceless choice of what is always here. And I'm not sure how much of a question I have. I sort of wanted to yeah, it's not that I want to grasp onto it, because there is nothing to grasp onto. I mean, I caught myself doing in the meditation, trying to find this place, and then I recognized that, you know, what am I doing? It's currently here. It's currently everything that I'm experiencing is part of that. But what I noticed yesterday was it was such an extraordinary meeting and listening to everybody and just being part of everything. And I was in a place of, and it didn't feel like I was in a place, it just felt that there was this absolute heart presence that you described so beautifully. And I went downstairs, and as soon as I started talking to, or my husband, you know, lunch or whatever, I noticed this disconnection that happened. And it was almost like there's a noticing that's going on, but there's the me that's doing the lunch and cooking and things that feels separate to that, if you understand what I'm saying. And it doesn't maybe matter, but it felt like there wasn't an alignment with it. And I noticed that there was, you know, you talk about the identification, and you described just now beautifully these pathways to presence. And I might ask you maybe at some stage to do the same thing about this identification, because I know when there's well, sometimes I don't know till afterwards, when there is a me that is doing whatever, I feel it's personal. But other times, like in the relationships, it just, yeah, I don't know how to, I don't know, am I describing at all? Is it making any sense? That
what I'm hearing from you is how can you stay aligned in your life? That's what I'm hearing from you. Is that right? Is that what you're sharing?
Yes, it probably is, without it being a doing, Paul. Yeah, because otherwise then that would just take me back to my mind. But yeah, I think it's yeah, about being out of alignments, and yet recognizing that something is conscious of it all. So something is in alignment, but the little me is insecure, I suppose.
As you're sitting here right now, yeah, the little you that is insecure, can you sense her? Yeah. Yeah. Can you sense that the big you, which is secure? Yeah. Can you sense that which knows both of them?
Yes, I would say I sense that more clearly than the big me that is secure, actually.
You know, this quote from Saint Francis of Assisi came to me when you were speaking, when he said, what you are looking for is where you are looking from. What we are looking for is where we are looking from. Now, where we are looking from, when we recognize that that place is unchanging, it cannot change, it never changes, it is here all the time, choicelessly.
Yeah.
When we recognize that, and when our sense of identity shifts more into that place, so we know ourselves to be that, then even in front of that, if at times the little me is arising and is coming up, and somehow we're going into some sort of role playing when we're with family or at our job or, you know, in some sort of social environment, then the true self knows that that is something that is just, it is just playing out.
Yeah.
It is just kind of playing out, but we don't need to take that too seriously.
Thank you.
It's like if we were playing a role at the theatre or something, and every night we go and play this role at the theatre, and there we get dressed up and we wear all of the costume and all that sort of stuff. At the end of the play, we put those clothes down and again we come back home. We may, for a while, felt we were playing that role, but we know that it's not really what we are. In a similar way, sometimes in very charged situations, especially family, maybe family is the most charged situation, then maybe some old habits and some old roles will come up. But without you believing fully into that and identifying fully with that, you would just kind of see that, oh, look at that, you know, something is still happening like that. It's something is still happening, but I'm not taking it seriously anymore.
Yeah.
And that will bring a tremendous amount of acceptance and forgiveness for yourself. So you're not holding yourself to such high standards that really you're unable to achieve them, and then you sort of beat yourself up for not achieving them.
Yeah, and I caught that yesterday,
Yeah.
I think. But there is a lot of sadness, particularly when you're talking, because I know that you're right about the lightness, about just, and I did yesterday think it would be so nice just to be with the person, the little me, in a lighter way, because that's the stickiness. That's when the identification comes in of somehow not being all right with whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there's this grief, Paul, actually, is what I'm feeling listening to you. There's this deep grief. I don't know if it's just a letting go or if it's, I don't need to know really, but there is a deep grief that
Yeah.
the way it feels.
And that sense of deep grief, that will also be processed within the light of consciousness, so that you're not avoiding that grief. So that grief is felt. Maybe there's a grief of, you know, not being true or something like that, or a grief of, well, it doesn't really matter what the grief is, but there is a feeling of just also embracing that grief. So you truly meet that grief, you bring that grief into the light of consciousness itself. And also the grief, also then it will pass through and something will remain here. That which will remain here, that is not passing through. And that you come to see, that is always here. And you see, well, that is always here. But all of these other things are changing. Which one must I be? Because awakening is not for the familiar self. We don't awaken as the familiar self. We awaken from that. The identity shifts from that. That there is no such thing as an awake person. Ego cannot awaken, but we must awaken from that, which means to shift the identity into that place of just natural seeing.
maybe some of the grief, Paul, is that when I'm sitting with you in the energy is very, very strong at the moment, I think, with the Christ consciousness and things. When I'm sitting with you, there's absolute clarity. There is no mental interference. It doesn't seem, and I think when I go back into the family and the dynamic and all the rest of it, that there is, there is the identification, and maybe that's why the grief is coming up now, is that it's just natural. I know from sitting with you before, I recognize that well, whatever, it's something is recognized, I feel, in this moment, and the loss of that and the glue of this, and it, it's just how it is.
Yeah, I very much relate to what you're saying. I very much relate to what you're saying, because it's almost like the world believes us to be something else. And up until now, or up until a certain point, we've had to play into that. And I remember, some years ago, I remember we had a retreat in Sweden, and many of you may have been there, actually. It was a New Year's retreat in Sweden. And it was a silent retreat for 4 or 5 days. And then on the last day, we were going to have a final lunch to finish. And in those days, I was quite new at holding retreats. And I thought, it might be really nice just to let people speak on the last lunch and people can have a chat there. And so we were about 30 or 40 people. And on the last lunch, then we've been silent for these 4 or 5 days. And then the lunch hall was just, it was like a concert. It felt so loud, and everyone's laughing and joking and, talking really loud and this kind of thing. And one of our team members, I remember seeing her, she was sitting there in amongst it all. Anyway, at the end of this lunch, we had a team meeting, and we was just speaking about the retreat and how did the retreat go. And we said, the retreat was very nice, but, maybe this lunch at the end where everyone is speaking and getting back into kind of personal energy, it wasn't a good idea. And I said to her, I said, I saw that, and I think I agree with you. I said, but when I looked at you, you were right in the middle of it all. You were telling all the jokes, and you were, you were kind of you were right in the middle of all of this. And she said something to me, I'll never forget it. And she said, you know what, Paul? It was the only way I could survive. She said, it was the only way I could survive. Because it's almost like us being in our true place as the being, it's almost like the world will, on some level, reject that. Some level, it will not understand that. On some level, it will appear kind of unusual. But we all kind of have to go through that journey. And we all have to come to see that, can we be true to ourselves, to the best of our ability? Can we be true to ourselves? Because so many of us, we are so codependent, and we are sort of so used to just focusing on others and how they feel, and we adapt to that very much. But actually, if that still happens and it still plays out, then we have to bring a lot of forgiveness to ourselves. And as much as we're able to just see if we can just honor the being as much as we're able.
Yeah. That's so helpful. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's what I noticed yesterday was, in spite of being in this very quiet space, there was this very energetic pull for wanting praise, wanting to be helpful, sort of lots of little ego things, wanting approval, wanting connection, but recognizing the true connection is inside, but still sort of there's like, I don't know. I mean, it was really bizarre. I haven't experienced that duality so strongly, of feeling absolute connection and presence. And I love what you said about forgiveness, because That's yeah,
Yeah.
it sometimes seems hard, but
You know, again, we can catch that part of ourself that is seeking approval and is seeking connection and is seeking some kind of external authority. We can catch that part. Again, that is the inner child. Usually the inner child, we can catch that part and reassure her that you are fully with her, so that you connect with her first, and then out of that place, maybe then still, yeah, you want to have connection and you want to have interaction, but then you're moving from a place of wholeness rather than a place of lack and scarcity.
oh God,
But again, being gentle with yourself, always being gentle with yourself, always bringing kindness to yourself. This is at the core of this.
that's absolutely radical, Paul. Actually, I'd never considered that. It seems like I don't know, so out of reach that to see what I need first. It's
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I shared that. Actually, I needed to. Oh goodness, thank you. Yeah.
Try it for the next couple of days. Maybe you have a chance to come up and share with us again how that has been for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Venetia. God bless.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. So we're coming to an end now this morning, and we like to always end the meeting in silence together. And if you want to share a message on the screen, you're welcome to share a message on the screen if you feel to do that. It's always nice. You can even say where you're from. We can see where you're from if you feel to. What I'm pleased about is that I'm able to get across the main core point, the main core teaching, which is really to embrace our humanness from and as the higher power. This is what I'm sharing over and over again. This is what I'm reminding you about over and over again. Because our humanness is beautiful and unique. We're all very different on that level. But when we separate ourselves from the higher power, then we become kind of vulnerable in that state. Maybe even become a victim. And again, I'm very grateful for the people who have shared so genuinely and so honestly. It is really you who make the meetings. Because when we come together as a group and we share this deep humanness, this brings a tremendous sense of connection with others. So thank you for that. And I just have one last announcement. Yada is going to do a meditation tonight. For anybody who wants to join, he's going to do a meditation 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock European, and it will be on this this Zoom meeting. So you're welcome to join. We will send you an email about that this afternoon. So Yada is the guy who is sharing at the beginning of the meetings. He's also a meditation teacher and very beautiful man. I'm very happy to have Yada with us. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Lots of love to you all. See you tomorrow.